master the subjects, and words will follow. Cato the Elder. Apart from performing lectures, as you know, and experimenting with audio-visual mashups, I used to write books a long time ago. Nowadays I write only essays, feuilletons, and so on and so on. So what was the guiding spirit of my books? It was to codify experiences into philosophy. Is to process experiences and knowledge into some new ideas, some new fresh outlooks, looking at things that are known in theory from a fresh and new perspective. That's why it is a form of a neo-hermetica. I was guided to convey this knowledge in order for some people, especially young people on the beginning of the journey, to avert and avoid certain pitfalls in the occult, in the magical business, to avoid it with discernment and wisdom. And hence I decided to codify both the philosophies and the methods from my 25 years of experience as a heathen, 18 years after piercing the veil. So my approach was very similar to that of Macrobius in Saturnalia. As a heathen, I prefer not to entangle myself in turf battles or mud wars with Judeo-Christians, because this is pointless. Whatever you tell to them, they're blinded and blindfolded with their belief systems. And these occult books are niche writings. They're not meant to convince anyone to my right or wrong, truth or false. They are trying to preserve the ancient teachings and modernize them, update them to the current situations and circumstances. Whether I successfully preserved it, modernized it, drawn a bridge between the ancient heathen teachings and modernity is up to you to decide. Now, my standard work, Occultosophia, a Hermetic Theoria, I'm a Pole from Warsaw, but I studied in the UK, and therefore I find English a more analytical and precise language. Therefore I write in English, both for greater audiences, and if I would pick one analytical language that would be most precise, would be probably German language, with all the terminology and philosophical conceptuality. So this book is mainly centered on the experience I gathered, and it is a series of chapters on ethics, occult, philosophy, theology, theurgy from a heathen perspective, non-Abrahamic. This is the first book. Then Stanzas from an Empire. This is a shorty, and it contains, let's say, Nietzschean thoughts. Para-Nietzschean, as Nietzsche once had his little stanzas, so did I. Now, Methods and Theories of Magic is accompaniment to Occultosophia, and it is more practical. So you may find various interesting praxis within it to pursue with the intelligent, astute mind in order to commit and train your tools, because a tool has to be trained to be functional, effective. So much so, my personal seal, made by wonderful Catherine. The books I wrote in Polish were a translation of some of my texts in English back into Polish. I publish under nicknames, therefore you can find only my surname on Goodreads, where upon the books are listed, just in case somebody would get a grand idea of plagiarizing or stealing my intellectual property. So these are notatki z Wiecznej Migracji, nicknamed Fuomo, and that's the Polish version. It's not exactly information contained in Occultosophia, but that's the first volume. There are 3 volumes. This is the first volume. Then there is the other one there. I won't show it, it's in Polish anyway. So the first tome is Solar, second Jupiterian, no, second Saturnian, third Jupiterian. It was supposed to be a septology, 7 books. However, I decided to stop writing at a certain point in my time. Another one is Fairy Tales for the Insane, collection of short stories, both fantasy, science fiction, philosophical, with the, let's say, epideictic idea, just like Babrius and Phaedrus, who wrote the Aesopian Tales, or reiterated Aesopian Tales. It is in a similar guise, but without animals. So, this was the first version, the only one that I have of Notatki z Wiecznej Migracji, and it states selected sketches from chaos, sacred and profane, written down by a heathen philosopher, pagan philosopher, repeated. As in my speeches I am often attacking Judeo-Christianity and so on, you won't find it in my books. My books are meant to be understood a bit on an academic, a bit metaphorical, poetical level, and they are written with ethics at the back of my head. So thinking, what would happen if people would believe it? What would happen if there would be some exegesis? What would happen if so, if so, if so? So it is not about informing or writing about absolutely everything, but you have an ethical delimitation of certain ideas. And of course, there's a little secret. There was a little muse standing behind those books. Unfortunately, our relationship was abruptly destroyed by our enemies. That's the muse. She was quite a genius. And she probably still is. Well, so, we all have muses, right? Thank you.